You're uh, driving down the highway, music playing, and you feel like you're totally in control.
Right. Like we all love to believe we're the ones steering our own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we think we're making these perfectly logical choices about, why we snap at a coworker or buy things we really don't need.
Right, but the source notes we're looking at today suggest you might actually just be a passenger. And the car is, well, it's being driven by invisible ghosts in the back seat.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So today's deep dive into the source material is all about Sigmund Freud's psychodynamic approach.
And our mission here is to figure out what actually drives human behavior according to, honestly, one of history's most controversial thinkers. Like beyond the pop culture cliches, what is the actual core of his theory?
Well, the core engine, according to Freud, is built on things we can't even see. He argued that we were largely controlled by unconscious drives and very early childhood experiences.
Okay, so how does he map that out? Because I know he divided the mind into three distinct parts. Right, exactly. Starting with the id. The id operates entirely on what he called the pleasure principle. I mean, it wants what it wants right now, with just zero logic involved.
So it's basically like having a wildly demanding toddler throwing a tantrum inside your brain.
That is honestly the perfect analogy. But then around age 3 to 6, this counterforce develops, which is the superego. And this is your rigid moral conscience.
And the notes actually tie the superego's development heavily to the Oedipus complex, right? Wait, is that the highly debated idea where a child is unconsciously competing with one parent for the other parent's affection?
Yeah, that's the one. So navigating that whole complex dynamic is supposedly what builds our internal sense of rules and guilt.
Wow.
So the superego essentially becomes this strict, judgmental referee, just blowing the whistle on every single fun impulse that the id has.
Man, so I have a toddler screaming for candy and a referee threatening me with a red card. How does a person even function in society with that constantly going on?
Well, that falls entirely to the ego. The ego operates on the reality principle, so it's the logical mediator. Its whole job is just keeping the peace between the two.
Like, trying to balance a tantrum and a strict referee 24/7 sounds completely exhausting. The ego must be under a massive amount of stress.
Oh, it creates intense anxiety. And to survive it, the ego deploys these survival tactics, which we call defense mechanisms.
Right, like repression, where the mind literally walls off a traumatic memory so you just can't access it. Or displacement.
Exactly. You know, like when you get chewed out by your boss, but you obviously can't yell back, so you go home and pick a fight with your roommate. That energy has to go somewhere.
So the ego is literally playing defense. But from the notes, Freud thinks a lot of this anxiety traces back to how we developed as kids.
Yeah, he mapped out 5 psychosexual stages we all supposedly pass through. You have the oral, anal, phallic, latent, and genital stages.
Okay, wait, let me push back on this a bit, because here's where it gets really interesting. Are we saying that if a baby doesn't get their needs met during, say, that oral phase, it permanently rewires them?
According to Freud, yes. The idea is all about psychological energy.
So if someone bites their nails today, Freud genuinely claims they're simply fixated at the oral stage from when they were like 6 months old.
He absolutely would. If a child experiences too much frustration or even too much indulgence at any stage, their psychological energy gets stuck or fixated right there.
And that stuck energy then supposedly dictates your adult habits. Tying nail biting to babyhood feels like a massive leap. I mean, it really makes me wonder how much of this theory actually holds water today.
Well, it's a mixed bag. The sources do point out a huge strength, though. Psychoanalysis as a therapy actually works remarkably well.
Really? The data actually supports it.
It does, yeah. Studies in our notes show psychoanalysis offers around an 80% benefit, compared to about 60% for other therapies.
Oh, wow. I guess because unlike modern cognitive therapies that might just, give you a breathing exercise to stop biting your nails, psychoanalysis tried to figure out why that ghost in the backseat is anxious in the first place.
Exactly. It treats the underlying root cause, not just the symptom. But as you hinted at, the flaws are pretty glaring.
Yeah, I mean, the Oedipus complex, for instance, is heavily male-focused, and it completely ignores modern family structures.
Right. And the theory is also highly psychically deterministic. It basically assumes your childhood completely dictates your adult life, which leaves almost zero room for growth.
But the biggest hurdle for modern psychology seems to be that Freud's core concepts are just entirely unfalsifiable.
Yes, because we can't exactly put the ego under a microscope,
Right. We can't run a blood test for a superego. So what does this all mean? If we can't scientifically prove they exist, or don't exist? Is this just philosophy masquerading as science?
A lot of critics argue exactly that. It's an elegant framework, sure, but without rigorous testable evidence, it's not hard science.
But even if we can't test it in a lab, having this framework does change how you see the world. I mean, tomorrow, when you find yourself totally in denial about a work deadline or displacing your stress onto a friend, you might actually catch your ego playing defense,
Yeah, it really forces you to look beneath the surface of your everyday interactions and ask what's actually driving them.
which leaves you with this to mull over. If Freud is even partially right, if our behaviors are largely dictated by unseen, unconscious drives forged in our earliest childhood years, how much genuine free will do any of us actually possess when making choices